The news today has been good for some and pretty terrible for most everyone else. Actually, pretty terrible for everyone across the board. I'm referring to inflation there, which we saw ticked up to 6.2% year on year for the month of October, which is the highest in 20 years. Some other estimates that are non-governmental studies on inflation say that it's even up to 30 years, which is pretty impressive in terms of inflation. Of course, that comes after this year where the Federal Reserve and others in Treasury have been talking about how this inflation is transitory in nature, meaning inflation is going to come and pass. Doesn't look like that's really happening at all. On the other side, we also have Bitcoin breaking all-time high again at $69,000 per coin. Never been that high, which is pretty fantastic. And Naomi, just to get back to you, I'm getting pretty excited about Bitcoin now.
We're almost at 69K and our eyes are watching it very, very closely. I think it did break it on some exchanges. So it's like figure out which exchanges you're going to average the amount from. But I mean, this we've been railing against. Sorry, go ahead, Will.
Go ahead. No, I was interrupting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've been railing against inflation and fearfully looking at it for a long time, saying this is crazy. This is unprecedented amounts of money printing. This is incredibly experimental monetary policy. What are the effects going to be? And obviously, a lot of people in crypto are there because they think that the economy is going to go bust, that the US dollar is going to inflate away. They don't want to lose all their savings, and so they're looking for a hedge. This is echoed by JP Morgan's analysts who have attributed the rally to the rise in inflation expectations and Bitcoin's appeal as a hedge against rising prices. We've heard the same rhetoric from people like Michael Saylor, who are all in on Bitcoin, basically turned MicroStrategy into a Bitcoin proxy stock. So it's exciting for the people who have been in crypto for a while and who have seen the promise of it, that if the government really screws up the money supply, if their monetary policy and all the elites and bureaucrats who are determining what happens to our savings, if they really screw up, then it's nice to have an option. And now it seems like they're really screwing up, and a lot of us have dived into this option. It makes me sad that there are so many people out there who have not been keeping up with this, who have not been preparing themselves, whether it's gold, which has also broken a 5-month high recently and is also considered an inflation hedge, or whether they're diving into new digital assets. Just finding ways to diversify your portfolio and not holding your money in cash is really important right now. But Christy, I'm going to throw to you for your take on all of this.
Well, talking about screwing up, let's just, as the tech editor here, I just want to give a shout out to, and I'd like everybody to take a moment to thank a dev, because Bitcoin itself has not screwed up. It has had no downtime over the years. It is developing, and none of this would be possible if it weren't for the strength of the underlying technology. And the fact that it has managed to undergo major soft fork upgrades over the years, some of them contentious. The community's rallied and managed to get changes done slowly, I know, but that's a feature, not a bug. I think really is a testament to the strength of the blockchain itself, and that is why it can be a reliable hedge. George?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. Bitcoin is just going to go TikTok another block, and it's amazing. It's great. But back to talking a little bit about inflation, and I don't like sounding like an alarmist, but this is terrifying, right? This is absolutely terrifying. And I think the Americans on the hash are going to have some serious educating to do about sound money principles to our extended families around the turkey that may or may not be there this Thanksgiving, given supply chain is really choking itself out. Naomi, you make a really good point about people trying to put their money in assets. And it's sort of interesting to me how if I tell someone to put money into stocks to preserve wealth, they don't look at me like I'm a crazy person. But if I say to put it into gold or to Bitcoin as a way to preserve my wealth, it's as if you're a crazy lunatic. It's kind of an interesting conversation that's going to start coming out now that we see actual inflation. Like 6% inflation is a lot, right? That's a lot of erosion. So now that we actually see this happening, it's a weird moment because I'm not a person that wants inflation to come. I don't want it to come like crazy. I don't want Bitcoin to go up because of it. But this is what's going to happen. So we need to prepare for that. So educating our friends, our families this Thanksgiving is going to be a big deal, Will. So
No, totally. It's definitely going to be a big deal. And yeah, I think just contextualizing what you're saying there with the stock market, 6% return is what a lot of people look for year over year for their own equity portfolio. And now we're getting 6% inflation over the year, which is just like, how do you make up for that gap there? You have to be gambling. And that's why we saw a lot of that over this past year, where a lot of people have been dropping money into Reddit stocks or have been dropping money into Shiba Inu. People are looking for ways of making money, and that's how this gambling alternative kind of pops up. Because there has been a lot of money flowing around, and it's looking for interest, and it's looking for savings. And luckily, we have Bitcoin. And I always say that this is kind of like the sad way Bitcoin becomes adopted, is that there's such poor use of the government's power to print money that you are forced to an alternative quicker than you want to. The best way for Bitcoin to be adopted would be very slowly, where there's little adoption, and Bitcoin is adopted because it's a great technical use case. But here we're seeing it being adopted because of inflation. Amy, I'll give it to you though before we move to the next subject.
For sure. I mean, Bitcoin has so much promise. Just the promise of financial sovereignty is enough to get a lot of people onboarded. Just the idea that they can control their own money. But you're absolutely right that people don't take the plunge until something personally affects them, until it's your PayPal account that gets frozen, until it's your bank account where money is seized, until, it's your data that's stolen. You don't care about privacy, right? So all of these things, they're very abstract concepts, and most people just can't really relate to them. They're living their everyday lives. They've got too much to worry about on their plate. So they're just not considering these abstract concepts until it hits home. And as you said, the sad thing right now is it's really hitting home for everyone through all of this massive inflation.